Welcome to the VIA podcast, the 4,000 kilometre ultracycling challenge across Europe where community meets competition. Here we talk about fascinating people and their stories behind the event. I'm Ian, founder and main organiser of VIA.
I'm Pete, the broom wagon driver and ultra race mechanic.
And we're going to talk more about you in the next episode.
Yeah, and today, Ian, we're going to be delving into the story behind Ian Toe. Well, firstly, name, age, where are we?
So, yeah, I'm Ian Toe. I'm 45. I'm closer to 50 now than I am 40. We are in sunny Chiseldon, Wiltshire, in England. As I said, my main role is as the founder and main organiser of VIA. So most of the work is done by me. I'm the only full-time person on this.
Yeah, and is Chiseldon, Swindon the final destination and where you'll be forevermore?
Very good question. We're actually surrounded by boxes, which you can't see on the camera deliberately, because we're in the process of moving this year to Norway. So this summer, VIA will coincide with our big house move and country move, where we'll move the entire family to the final destination.
So the plan is that we'll give every VIA rider an item from the house to carry to the finish line?
Yeah, somebody will get a sofa,
yeah.
Somebody will get maybe a book.
So kind of a first come, first served sort of, yeah. The earlier you sign on race day, the more advantageous it might be.
Well, those with more horsepower, like you Bruno, you Adam,
yeah.
They need that kind of that handicap.
Oh, a levelling. Yeah, maybe this is the levelling for the field. Yeah, we do an FTP, watts per kilo, and then we add some weight.
Yes, here's a sofa, here's a dining table, or here's a bag of clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that could be, maybe that's a new direction for the race in the future. So,
be fun.
Ian, why do you love ultra distance racing?
So I got into ultracycling back in 2015, 16, so over a decade ago. And what I really wanted to do was to explore places, to travel, to ride my bike. You know, riding the bike is number one, but I wanted to keep riding it.
Yeah.
Ultracycling was this allure of adventure and also competition. It meant I could push my limits, find out where my limits were, meet new people, explore countries, places.
Yeah. All
doing it in a single event.
So have you done many ultra races?
I've done a few, as you know. But for the listeners, who don't know me so well as you do, I've done something like 17 or 18.
Yeah, and were you successful? What's your kind of your Palmares for ultra racing looking like?
Palmares? Oh, you're supposed to be Italian. I thought it was Palmares.
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends on your
Palmares. Okay, well that's a very posh word to use for results, or just most people don't care. So starting with my first ultra race, it was, let me see, back in 2016 I did 3 in very close succession, so I did 3 in 3 months. One of those was a race around Croatia, which is no more. It was one of the first proper ultra races. 1,400 kilometres, about 18,000 metres of climbing around the 4 corners of Croatia, and it was a beautiful experience. So that was one of my first proper ultra races. I went on to do races which people will know, like TCR. So I did TCR 5 and 8, and there's another story behind that. I took the Southern Divide FKT last year. I've done a number of events with my partner Ingeborg on a tandem.
Yep.
So we won the pairs at All Points North, I think in 22. We tried further east on a tandem, off-road.
Brave, very brave.
Brave because it's so gnarly.
Yeah,
I mean, most people will just hear the words and not really understand what further east means. But Camille Macmillan, the organiser, he is a particular person, a very interesting person. I like him a lot. but he has some crazy ideas for sending people to terrible places.
A devious race organiser, I think.
Devious. I think he would enjoy being called that. Yeah, I think that's quite complimentary.
Yeah. No, I think a very unique way of approaching race design, course design.
I think he's much more of an artist than an organiser, and
Absolutely.
I really like that in him.
Yeah.
He's quite a different person from me as organisers go, but I love it nevertheless, and yeah.
So your ultra racing career, glittering successes.
Well,
but there must have been some.
I wouldn't say glittering. I mean, I won Solstice Sprint twice in succession. The first two editions. I didn't want to go back this the third year because I won Hard Crow 3 times, 2016, 17, 18, and by the third edition, people were just like wanting anybody else to win, and it's domination's not interesting. And I should have stopped it too. But yeah, that's just a lesson. And I love the country so much. There are so many people that I call friends there. I've been there probably more than 20 times.
Yeah,
definitely recommend going.
I've never been, and
definitely recommend going.
It is on my bucket list of places, both to ride a bike and to just go on holiday.
Yeah, there's a lot of culture and history. I mean, the Romans settled there.
Yeah,
Romans everywhere.
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting, those stories of success are interesting, but people really want to know, Ian, have you DNF'd any races?
I've DNF'd a few. So in Deserters Bikers, the first edition, I think that was 22 or 23, Ingeborg and I tried to do it on a tandem, so our road tandem. And we break everything on a tandem. We have broken chain rings, hubs, chains, you name it, we've broken it. And on this occasion, we were in second place. I mean, technically, it's not a race; it's a coined a rally, and there are no rules either. There really are no rules, and it's very well named Deserters Bikers because it is like the Wild Wild West. People ride on motorways and all sorts, and it's just a free-for-all. But we completely destroyed our rear hub. The bearings were just metal mush, and we ended up trying to sleep on a mountain, completely sleep deprived, and then walking to the nearest town. Maybe it was 10 or 20k. I can't remember. It was a long way to go.
Too far to be walking.
Too far. So that was a big failure, but a failure shared.
Yeah.
There are other things, other events that I've DNF'd. We DNF'd further east as well on the tandem. I did complete it, what was I, 4th or 5th solo, another time a few years later. But we had a lot going on, as we always do. My eldest was starting university on the day of the start. Ingeborg had some board meetings and work to do. So we actually started the race something like 11, 12, maybe even 13 hours after everybody else started. And we just used it as a jolly to see how far we could get. And when it started raining really hard, we just thought, we've had enough fun, let's just go back. And we had to get back for the girls to get them to school on the Monday morning. So that was the end of that little expedition. But probably the one which was maybe the most defining for me was doing TCR 8 in 2022. And not many people know this, but my mum, who I was very close to, because I had lived with her for a number of years, having split up from my ex-wife and moved my girls in with her. So we were all very close to her. And she got very sick. We didn't know what was wrong with her. She had lots and lots of tests. And eventually the doctors said, after lots of transfusions as well, she doesn't have long left. She probably maybe has 2 months. And I was so distraught by that. This was, I think, just over 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks before the start of the race. And the next day, the doctor said she doesn't have more than 2 weeks left. And she died in 13 days. She died on the Wednesday, and I had committed to taking a couple of the friends who were local, Villas and Paul Ashman.
Yeah.
They were both doing TCR8. I'd already committed to driving them there, so I felt I couldn't let them down. I wanted to stay with Ingeborg, my girls, after my mum died. And I just felt that obligation that I needed to fulfill to lots of people at the same time. Didn't really want to race, but I still went. And after the race started, I was, I think, third to checkpoint 1, maybe 10 minutes behind Ulrich and Robin Gempeli. And then at checkpoint 2, I think I was 4th, not very far behind them. But I started getting lots of mechanicals because I had done a very bad route. I hadn't prepared properly because most of my time had been spent with family, with my sick mum, and then preparing my girls for the news that their grandma was going to die.
Yeah.
And so when the race went out for me, and I thought it wasn't possible to podium, my mind wandered much more to thinking about my family, much more to missing my mum, especially, to missing Ingeborg and my daughters. And let's just say I had quite a few cries on the bike.
Yeah, I think entirely understandable, and it's different, isn't it? Taking the opportunity to go and ride a race like that as a thing to help you process the emotions and the kind of the impact of that when it's not so fresh. So maybe kind of 6 months or the following year, or but for it to be kind of literal, kind of
days,
hours,
days. Yeah.
Hours, countable hours away is it's a different kind of prospect, isn't it? And I think testament to your your mental fortitude and your strength, and we've talked about that previously, how ultras build resilience, that kind of searching for resilience, and your your dedication and kind of commitment to not wanting to let other people down, and kind of I've made this promise to my friends that I'll get them to the start line, and once you're there, you kind of think, well, this is my happy place on the bike.
It was supposed to be.
Yeah. And so you think, oh, maybe this will give me some solace, but actually, it sounds like it was more of a weight than a help, wasn't it? The bike at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I was focused on racing, it was let's race. But when the race went out and it was no longer a competition, it just felt like I was doing it to complete it, and I've got nothing. I just felt I had nothing to prove to anybody. I'd completed 4,000 kilometers previously, so why bother? I was just missing everybody and feeling incredibly lonely at that point in time.
Yeah, understand. I mean, it's a lonely endeavour, isn't it? Being on an ultra can be a very lonely endeavour at points.
Well, I think when you're racing at the pointy end, then there's nobody around you. You don't encounter anybody, and especially if you're leading or top 3, you will not encounter anybody.
Yeah.
So it's a very different experience from being in the mid-pack or near the back, where you will share some sort of camaraderie and you'll cross paths. I had none of that.
No, and I think as well, there's a level of focus, isn't there, required to be at the pointy end, that you're drawing on a kind of a well of determination and reserves that is almost separate to your kind of, like you're saying, like your family life and your personal life and your everyday world, that you can, those two things, when you're racing, you can separate them quite effectively.
Yeah.
But like you say, you'd done TCR before at TCR 5 and had a much happier experience.
To a degree. I mean, TCR 5 was also quite traumatic because that year somebody was killed in Belgium. And Frank Simons, you don't expect people to die in a bike race. And then people were getting run over, and the heat wave that I experienced in Romania especially, You know, my Garmin was showing 47 degrees, and everybody was just melting. It was horrific. Romania being close past repeatedly by heavy traffic was just not fun. But TCR8, you know, to conclude my ride there, just 5k from checkpoint 3, my last tube blew up on the descent. I was very lucky not to come off, and I was faced with the prospect of, you know, if I wanted to complete, I needed to take a bus 300 kilometers over the mountains of Montenegro into Serbia to find some tubes. And I'd been searching for tubes before that for a couple of days to just stock up on spares. And then 300 kilometers to ride back over the mountains and then start from
where
basically
left off,
checkpoint 3, which is just days, you know, relying on buses and spending that extra time. I missed my girls so much. I just wanted to see them, and Ingeborg and the girls had flown to the finish, so I just decided that was it.
Yeah,
I'd had enough, and it was my time, and it was my emotions of needing my family, and then needing me too. So.
Exactly, and I think that, you know, we can easily get caught up, can't we, in the race and the drive and the determination to finish these things. But actually, you know, we talk about a lot in the race when we talk to our racers, all of the things that go into competing at an ultra and turning up, you know, just to toe the start line. A lot of stuff goes into that, and anything that's, you know,
I think distracting
and drawing on it is a real drain, isn't it? And
really demotivating. I mean, again, in TCR5, my ex-wife was just giving me a whole load of crap. You know, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be going home. But I already committed. I was already well into Germany. So what am I going to do? Just turn around. You know, and the incidents happened back in Belgium. So is it going to affect me? Probably not. I hope not. So yeah, that demotivation from home, when actually I needed more support, or just being allowed to do my thing, is definitely something that will affect people in a similar fashion. And we can understand, you know, as organisers, thinking about our riders and talking to them and finding out exactly what's gone wrong, what's upsetting them, what's stopping them from going on. And that's why we have the phone call when somebody wants to scratch. Are you okay? Are you physically okay? Are you emotionally okay? Is your bike okay? That's the conversation we have. That's the reason we have it, is to ensure that they have a great experience.
Yeah.
And if they're not, and the right thing is for them to scratch, then that's okay.
Yeah. Segues us smoothly onto talking about, you know, starting your own ultra race. Why Via? What was the inspiration? I think you sort of touched on it there slightly.
Yeah, I mean, for most people, these ultra races, they're a holiday. I mean, some races, they say it's not a holiday. This is absolutely a holiday for most people, because they're amateurs. They have to take time off work. Nobody pays them. Very few people are paid. You know, at the most, some kit, here's some bags, or maybe if you're lucky, here's a bike. Those expenses are reduced, but they still have to pay for the travel to the start, from the finish, their accommodation, all their food. So why do they do it? They do it because they love doing it, because they are goal-orientated, or they want the adventure, they want to explore the country, they want to push their limits, they want to compete against other riders, they want to feel part of a community. We really, Ingeborg and I, really wanted to offer an event that we would do ourselves. And I really struggled to find events that would motivate me to actually put myself in a hole to during the event and spend all the time training for that. I still struggle to this day. I mean, there are some great events out there which I would like to do in the future, those which have similar values.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point, isn't it? That races are not necessarily, or not entirely, made by the route that they take or the roads that they pick. Events are made by, for me, the community, the organisation, the people you interact with in the kind of build-up, how you're treated as an individual, and all of that goes into the race, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I'm inspired by the stories that I hear of organisers like Dominic Bockstaller, Dead Ends and Cake, like Nelson Trees. I know who organises the mountain race series, like Will Pomeroy, who puts on great Audaxes. I mean, that's a bit different, but he still organised Brian Chapman, which was a great event to do. All these guys, really, you know, the vibes that you get from everybody is like the community's great, you know, the organisation's great, they care, and they're all successful in my mind in putting on those sorts of things which I would go back to do.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
I would also recommend to a friend, yeah, you can trust this person because they're responsible. They think about all these things. It's also a great route and so on. But even if it wasn't 100% perfect route, then it's fine. I trust them. So it's going to be an experience, and you just allow yourself to go with the flow. But otherwise, I really struggle to find those sorts of events. And so having done enough ultras and seen what is really great, like a start meal, in like people meeting you at the finish, they're amazing to experience and to give back to the community, to give back to friends, and to say, you know, if you come to our event, this is what we're going to do. And we do absolutely everything, you know, the start meal, the finish meal, meeting them at the finish, because the alternative is horrible. The alternative is horrible to arrive at a finish and there's nobody there. To be greeted at the finish by at least just one person makes you feel like, oh, actually, they do care a little bit.
And I think that's the wonderful thing at both chapter 1 and 2 was that regardless of time of day or night, people were arriving. There was someone at the finish to meet them, and oftentimes, you know, 3 or 4 riders there as well who would make the effort to get up, you know, be it 2 or 3 in the morning, would be out of bed to come see. Some riders were still up, having drunk their way to 2 or 3 in the morning, but others would be, you know, making the effort to get up and come and meet riders. It does make a huge difference.
Yeah, waiting at the finish and being greeted there. Yeah,
to feel part of that community and to celebrate your achievement, because regardless of where you finish, it's no less of an achievement.
No, you for the slower riders, they actually spend more time on the road, and you've got to respect that.
Yeah.
For some who are doing the whole trilogy of Via, chapters 1, 2, and 3, the slower ones who complete, they will have spent a month and a half on the road, whereas the faster riders, they may only spend 3 weeks on the road, or just over 3 weeks. So there's a huge discrepancy in the amount of time that they spend riding, and you know, credit to everybody that they go fast, they go slow, but everybody suffers a bit. The conditions, goes over the terrain, and so building that community is really important. And we have in Via really tried to keep people together. So this year in chapter 3, we are organising accommodation before the start. So the Prologue gave us accommodation in their sports hall, and we'll have permission for, I think, 30 riders to be able to sleep there. Those 30 people can socialise, get to know each other. Some will already know each other. Some will share accommodation because they know each other from chapter 2, chapter 1, maybe both chapters. And at the finish, we have accommodation in Volda at the finish. So again, might be 25 to maybe 35 riders can sleep in a bed, and maybe more can sleep in tents. We'll see how that develops, but we know we have at least 25 beds that riders can sleep in. And that's all about keeping them together so that they don't feel that they have to disperse across a whole area, and that they can be there at the finish. We're going to make it easy for everybody to be there for each other.
I think it hopefully reduces the stress, doesn't it? I think at the finish, it reduces the stress of, oh God, right now I need to get off, I need to go and find a taxi, I need to go and make my way to a hotel to book somewhere. So hopefully we're kind of removing that stress for those tired and exhausted riders who are reaching the finish. And the same at the beginning, you know, people say, you know, it's a problem shared, it's a problem halved. But if you're sharing that anxiety and that nervousness at the finish with people who've done it before, or with friends, you know, it is halved, isn't it? And you do feel, you're reminded of why you're coming, and
for sure. I mean, our refuge this year, which is the Boten Fjellstue, the
beautiful
mountain.
pronunciation.
Yeah, well, I'm practicing my Norwegian. Boten Fjellstue, which is a hotel in the Haukeli Mountains in Telemark in southwestern Norway. We're going to have the run of the entire hotel. So we will run it, and that will be a place where riders can sleep for free for a few hours, or they can pay for a room so that we can cover the cleaning costs.
Yeah.
We'll give them a meal, as always, as previous chapters, every refuge, and we'll give them drinking water. They'll be able to shower, maybe even dry their clothes or wash their clothes. We'll see about all the facilities that we can organise there. But every year we do this because I know how it feels when you turn up to a checkpoint. You are checked. You're not greeted. Your brevet card is stamped, and there's nothing else there for you. You can't even get food if the checkpoint is in a hotel. You can't even get water. Sometimes there's not even a toilet. I've experienced this. There's literally nothing there. And you wonder, why is this here? This doesn't seem to be very welcoming. I can't even get a bottle of water water out of a tap even. I'm thirsty. There's no water.
Yeah.
Let alone food, let alone a bed, let alone toilet, shower, washing machine, and so forth. So it's not an advantage and it's not that difficult to organise.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
But we put the effort in.
It's an interesting approach, isn't it? I think it's a different mindset of like almost. Do you wonder whether some races approach these things about how hard can we make them? At what point do people kind of crack? And to my mind, racing 4,000 kilometres is hard enough.
It is, regardless of how fast you are. Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't get.
We know that, for example, the top three, the podium of Chapter 2, they all suffered. All of them suffered.
Absolutely.
Mishaps and exhaustion.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, and it's just nice to show a friendly face.
Yeah, and the sport of cycling gives us so much. I think we derive such comfort from it that it's nice to be able to share that and to be able to pass that kind of enthusiasm on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as an ultra racer and a cyclist and as a father, I feel a responsibility to give all these people a great experience. This is not about profit, for example. It requires a lot of expenditure of time, energy, and money to organise these things, to hire these places. Every location that we have, where we require the riders to go to, they cost us. To hire and to provide food and to get volunteers there and to pay their expenses and to provide great media, so photographs and videos. We pay all these people, and so at the end of each edition, Chapter 1 we made a small loss, Chapter 2 we just about broke even. There is no money in it, but the pleasure comes from the satisfaction that riders express and how they come back year after year.
So, hold on, you mean to say that I won't be retiring on the back of running the broom wagon at Veer?
I'm afraid not. Come on! No, you won't be, and neither will I. So I've made no money out of this, having spent 3 years of my life organising, founding, planning, we have questioned whether or not we want to continue doing Veer.
But I think, there's a community, we've talked about this before, and there's a community that is one of the things that draws us into committing time and energy to this, is the riders and the joy that those riders see.
I think it's wonderful to see people returning, but also their growth as people, because ultracycling really teaches you something about yourself.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the primary reason why you should do an ultra race. It's not about the place that you go. It's not even about the people that you meet. All these things are important and they're incredibly pleasurable. But if you learn something about yourself, you have won. If you learn how tough you are, how strong you are, how resilient you are, how much more resilient you become through undergoing this huge challenge, you have won. And there's nothing that you can that can be taken away by anybody, because it's a lesson in self-awareness, what makes you tick as a person.
Absolutely.
And in this day and age of overconsumption and instant gratification, this is very much long-term gratification, where you may have been training for a year, maybe 2 years. You know, even the races, they'll have been training intensely for 6-7 months. That's a long time to wait for that feeling of satisfaction that you've done a good job. And so teaching yourself that you're so strong and you're such a great person, and then there are other people just like you who are around you, and connecting those people is the number one joy of organising VIA.
Yeah, well, I think in the forthcoming episodes, we're talking to some, we'll be talking to as many riders as we can, but some particularly inspirational riders and people who've really gone on that journey of growth and development, and have changed massively from the people we met at the start of chapter 1.
Yeah, and I think that with a lot of people, you don't see just how much they've grown.
No.
Because it's hidden. They are so independent and they're so private in some cases, that the change is happening almost invisibly to anybody but somebody who's really close to them, or somebody who can see them year after year after year.
Yeah, and I think it's that incremental growth, isn't it? Your concentration, your focus throughout the year to get to the point where you can complete a 4,000 kilometre race is going to result in you growing as a person, both mentally, physically, and you may not notice those things yourself, but when you come to the start line and you turn up and arrive at registration at the start of chapter 2 or 3, I was gobsmacked at the difference in some people. You know, when you saw the level of relaxation and confidence in our riders who were returning from chapter 1 was night and day between the guys who'd maybe done other 4,000 kilometre races or similar distances, or were new to the distance. You looked at those people, and then the people who'd come into the community already from chapter 1, and it was night and day difference in kind of level of relaxation and confidence. And that that's the thing I think as organisers we should be really proud of.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is something that I'm proud of, that people trust us, and they trust themselves, and they trust each other, and that's how you build a great community, is that trust, is not to betray each other. I mean, we have no cheating.
No.
We have nobody cheating another rider or the organisation. It is about honesty. It is about understanding each other and being fair to each other. And I think that's how a really good community and a good society runs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm moving to Norway, because the Scandinavian societies are the same. It is all about trust. It's about community. It's about valuing people, not things or money.
Yeah. So, where is your favourite country to ride? Now, we talked briefly about Croatia. Does that make the list of favourite places to ride?
Definitely. It's definitely up there. I mean, it's very hard to choose because all countries have their great points. I mean, Italy and Spain, some really great food, mostly good climate. Mostly. I mean, Deserters Bikers was terrible weather, and it's been terrible weather every year.
And we had rain in the Alps for chapter 2.
Rain in the Alps, yeah. Heat waves throughout Italy. Italy's got great culture, lots of history. You know, if you like pizza and pasta, it's an olive oil, then it's a no-brainer. but they also have their downsides. But some of my favourite countries are obviously Norway, absolutely stunning raw beauty. Not many people, 5.2 million people in the area, 150%, bigger than the UK, which has a population of 65, maybe 70 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So very few people, beautiful, untouched landscapes, mountains, fjords, snow, forests, and yeah, it's wonderful. Croatia is probably also up there. The variety in landscapes, from the islands, the sea, the mountains, and when you move away from the coast further inland, it's much more green and far fewer people, like 2 people per square kilometre on average. Again, nature is untouched in many places, and bears and wolves, I've never seen any, but they exist out there. I think that variety of landscape in such a small space is amazing to be able to experience. And the people are amazing. You meet good people everywhere is something that I've learned.
Yeah, I think that's the joy of riding your bike a long way, isn't it? You get off your bike and you go in a cafe and sit down and order some food, or maybe 3 people's worth of food. And then people come and talk to you, and they are amazed at the thing that you are doing, and welcoming and happy, and
I think because
curious.
As a cyclist, you are a vulnerable person. You appear vulnerable. You're clearly exhausted, tired, filthy, stinky, very often. You've got a long distance to go. You've gone a long way, and you just need food, drink, and shelter. And so a lot of people feel pity on you. And one encounter I had personally was trying to sleep in a car wash and not finding any water during a heat wave, rummaging around that car wash and the neighbouring petrol station, not finding any water, not finding any food. Everything was closed. And then when I tried to go to sleep, hearing this voice in English saying, "Can I help you?" And this woman had come out. She lived right next to the petrol station. She'd heard me rummaging around, tripping over things, making lots of noise. And she invited me into her home and asked me if I wanted food and water and a shower, and would I like to sleep there, and such humanity, such kindness. The rules of the race said I couldn't accept anything but taking some water and just having a shower.
Yeah,
made me feel amazing because of the human kindness. That person had come out deliberately. I had not asked them. They had come to find me in the dark.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Basically, yes. Just caring, I think. And that's something that we also do at VIA, is just to show that caring.
Yeah, I think we try really hard at that. And so,
especially in your role, I mean, we'll talk about that in the next episode. But we try to support people who they often have a lot of anxiety over whether or not they can complete, whether they can progress, and so forth. So, how far can they get? What obstacles they will have?
Yeah, and so are there any dream races or adventures on the bucket list for you to ride?
I really want to explore more of Norway. I'd like to visit lots of other countries. The mountain race series is quite interesting. I'm intrigued by it. I think it's going to be really hard to do. But I know Nelson Trees puts on a really great race.
Yeah.
I think that if there was a dream race that I would do, it would be my own. But I don't know why people ask me, "Are you going to ride it?"
Like I've got time.
You clearly don't understand the logistics and the organisation or the planning of how this race runs and how many people we have to look after. Of course, I'd love to race it, and I'd love to race against some of these guys, and I'd lose. The likes of Bruno, Adam, and Lucas, they're so strong, and in some cases very young, much younger than me, and
offensively young. I think some of them. I'd probably say.
For sure. I mean, the top 10 and some in the top 20, very ambitious, very talented, and it would be interesting, but life has not conspired to give me a lot of time.
Well, I would be impressed if you managed to manufacture the time between the logistics of having a day-to-day life and a family, and organising the race, and then training for it as well.
Yes.
To be able, just training for it to be able to complete and enjoy yourself, and then actually ride the race as well.
Yeah.
I'd have some concerns in the broom wagon.
Yeah, and moving country.
Yeah.
And transitioning my family into that new country.
Yeah. So you are, we've just been through the list of myriad of things that you're responsible for, people you're responsible for, things you have to do. What is it that you do to unwind?
Unwinding is riding my bike.
Yeah.
There's not a lot else that I love or have time to do. There's not a lot else which I would rather do than that. And that's why I run here, because that's the experience that I want other people to have. I want to be able to tell a friend, just ride your bike. Just ride your bike. Enjoy riding your bike. So I think the probably the most recent break was going on an off-road or all-road tandem ride with Ingeborg, where we did about, 14 hours riding over the weekend. It was terrible weather because it was in England, so really foggy. But we made sure to eat nice food, and to stop in nice places, and slept every night, 2 nights in nice accommodation, not expensive, simple. That's how we like to roll.
Yeah.
And the tandem for me is about sharing that experience. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've become very conscious about, is the realization that during TCR8, I no longer wanted to run away from my partner.
Yeah.
So I used to run or ride away from my ex-wife and try to not spend any time at home with her.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think the bike provides an escape for people, and that can be like an escape from a negative situation like that, or it can be an escape to a positive thing.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, going out with Ingeborg, and that positive experience of taking the time and being together and just enjoying the kind of.
That's very perceptive. I mean, we actually met at the end of TCR5, so at the finish in Greece, and then we went on to both travel together to the 3rd edition of Hardcore in 2018. So 2017 and 18 is when we became friends, and it wasn't until a good few years later that when we split up with our respective partners, that we actually became romantically involved. And escaping together from daily life and into the outdoors. That's a bit of a paradox. Into the outdoors, and on the road or the countryside. I think that is the joy of riding long distance, is to be able to experience places. And now on a tandem, that's together.
Yeah.
It is not escaping her. It is us doing it together and sharing the view, the food, sometimes the hardship, sometimes terrible weather, sometimes great weather.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's kind of open. The tandem seems to have sort of opened a new chapter of riding for you.
Yeah, it's a very, very different kind of riding, and I find it more enjoyable than riding solo.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to listen to an audiobook because we can just continually talk. And
I believe, sorry to interrupt, that Ingeborg has had meetings on the back of the tandem previously.
She has, yes. Yeah. She's had a phone
wedged into your back pocket.
Yeah. Earphones in and been chattering along. And we often take a laptop with her so that she can do some work when we stop.
Not pressed up gaffer tapes to your back.
We have thought about various contraptions where on my back I have almost like a
little rucksack, fold down desk
with a stand for a monitor, and that's her office.
You could have a tower. You could have a PC in the. You could run a pannier bag with a PC in it, cabling up through the. Be fine. Be mobile.
Dynamo run.
Yeah. It's fully green. Yeah.
I'm not sure we generate enough power. But yeah, we've done quite a few events, from winning the pairs at All Points North and Deserters Bikers, DNFing there and trying further east and DNFing there. And then we entered the National 24. So it was the second time that we did it. And the first time I hated. I did 506 miles, that's 810 kilometers in 24 hours with an hour off the bike, because I got a very bad stomach bug where I was just needing to poo constantly, and I think I went 10 times and had to beg some toilet paper. Didn't find toilet paper off anybody, but you know, that industrial blue roll, which is really coarse and really hard on your backside, it really hurts, especially in
when you've been sat on the bike for 22 hours. And
terrible with the runs, of course. And I said that we would never, when we did it on the tandem, we would never spend so much time off the bike as I did there. Maybe we'll just spend half an hour off the bike. The number of catastrophes that we had because of SRAM ETAP, first generation, it rained the most since 1966, with 33 millimeters of rain in that 24 hours, where all the shifters on our SRAM ETAP died. And we were aiming for 500 miles, but we only managed to do something like 465, which was maybe a couple of miles more than the previous record, which had been held for 20 years. So we took the national record with minutes to spare, and we were riding around in only one gear, in a 5411, passing Michael Hutchinson at, I don't know, probably 1,000 watts combined over this little lump. We kept on passing him because we absolutely had to smash it up every hill because we only had one gear.
Yeah.
And we must have looked like complete muppets. But we took the record. And only later, I think a few months ago, did Sam Thompson from .coms podcast ask me, a bit about your background. Is that a national record or is it world record? And I said, I know it's a national record, but maybe it's a world record. I looked it up, and on Guinness it says that the previous record holders only did, I think, 450 miles, and they did it in Florida, where it was completely flat, whereas the National 24 course, for anybody in the UK, will know it's very bumpy, and there's a lot of traffic, there are traffic lights, and we stopped for an hour and a half, and we still managed to break their record. So that application has been accepted. The evidence is still pending, but it's all official because it's from the UK CTT, and we should have a record, a world record, verified soon.
That's excellent. Well, so I
do love a tandem.
Yeah, there's a joy, I think, to a tandem that.
Or 3 tandems that we have.
Yeah, one of them is very special.
Yeah, linear, filament, custom, carbon. Yes, it's a very fast and very nice bike.
Yeah, the frame builder in me is very enamoured with that one.
Well, you're going to build me another tandem, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully, yes. Yeah.
Full suspension.
A full suspension. When I've figured it out, it'll be that's going to be
full suspension tandem.
That's the next mission.
Yeah.
But I think you're a father of 3 girls. 3 women now. As you've alluded to,
2 teenagers. Yeah.
Have you succeeded in getting them to race their bikes?
The younger 2 have. I mean, now they're teenagers, 14 and 15. The younger 2. They have put cycling on the back burner. One hates cycling, she's declared.
Hopefully she'll find her way back.
Hopefully. Much more into friends and makeup and socializing and fashion. So they're much more into that. So yeah, I hope they do return, and they should have that base fitness and the skills and knowledge. I know they have that. They have done a couple of races. They tried a cyclocross race. They've tried a couple of circuit races around Castle Combe. And so those experiences should live with them forever. And the 15-year-old, she's done a British Cycling Level 1 course, and she passed that because she wanted to give up her cyclocross club, her training there, but she still wanted to help the other kids in her club because it's a kids-only club. So she's been helping out with that.
Excellent. Yeah. It's really nice to see that. And that's more of that community spirit.
Yeah, giving back to the club, not just taking from them.
Yeah.
So, I hope they re-find the joy of cycling. And they certainly have the ability and the knowledge, should they choose to use it.
I think that, any kind of bike riding is positive, whether you choose to race or not. If you're...
Yeah, you don't need to race.
Go out and ride to the shops every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 15-year-old, she sometimes rides to ice skating. So she rides herself there. It's a good 8 miles one way, locks her bike up, rides back after finishing her ice skating lessons and practice. So that's great that she has that independence of movement. I don't need to necessarily transport her there.
Yeah, there's a beauty to the freedom of the bike, isn't there? And I think that's what the kind of one of the overarching themes of this, when we talk about your joy of riding and via and your experiences, there's a sense of freedom, isn't there?
Yeah, and they've learned that through doing family bikepacking trips where, we've ridden long distance and we've had nice food and we've stayed in some accommodation. Sometimes we've camped, and they've learned that actually they're quite strong, and that's given them confidence, which is very important for girls, for young women to understand. And the 15-year-old, she's autistic. She very much lacks confidence, especially with social skills. There's a lot of anxiety in doing these things. She didn't sleep the night before she did the level 1 coaching course because she was so apprehensive, so feeling such a level of anxiety that she didn't eat either. And there's nothing that you can do. And we'll talk to some interesting riders about their experiences, especially where they are autistic. And the similarities there are uncanny. They are, the same almost, but just experienced in a different scenario. That's really helped her, and it's helped them to gain that knowledge and confidence that they're actually very tough people.
Yeah. I think anything that encourages them to realise their independence is a positive experience, isn't it? And those, as a parent, that's what you want to give them, the skills to go out and be independent and find their own adventures, whether that's on a bike or not.
Yeah, I mean, they've both done, or they will have done the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, bronze for the younger, bronze and silver for the elder, and that will stand them in good stead for when we move to Norway. And
you make them live outside?
The friluftsliv, which is the outdoor life, where it's hiking, it's skiing, it's not just downhill but cross country. There's biking, there's climbing. There's a huge number of activities to do where we're moving to. They call it the region's called Sunnmøre, and they call it the Sunnmøris sickness, where you move there, you never want to leave, and you just find more and more activities that you want to get into.
That sounds lovely.
Because mountains, fjords, you can do boating, you can do paragliding, you can do all sorts of things. And we'll talk to somebody much more about one of our former riders about their paragliding experience.
Yes,
that's a fascinating topic.
It is, yeah. Well, I think we've reached a nice conclusion point for a wonderful introduction to you, Ian. So we'll move on to episode 2, which is
about you
to me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people have learned a bit about me, what makes me tick, why I run Veer, and why they should come to Veer. mean, I think it is very much about trust. It is a very Scandinavian thing. The community that we've built has that trust, that organisation. I think we're pretty professional.
We try. We try our best. Yeah, I think the ethos of community and the joy of adventure and the supportive nature of the whole community, you know, the ethos that we try and get across as the organisers of the race, but you know, with all our riders as well. I think
they definitely muck in. Yeah,
they all will. They buy into those values, don't they? And that's the really wonderful thing to see at the race is people stopping and chatting and sharing experiences, regardless of how competitive in inverted commas or not they are.
Yeah.
Whether at the pointy end of the race or not, they're all happy to share their experiences with everyone else.
Yeah, so continuing on that theme, we will talk more to other riders. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, please post them. You can email us at info@via-race.com. That's info@via-race.com. And if you can give us a bit of support by liking this episode on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube. You can visit our website or Facebook. So please do give us a follow and a like and give us a review. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening.